Base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down here, a little bit earlier than normal. So everything is okay. You're not freaking out. We're here a little earlier. It's a travel day, so anything can happen on a travel day. That's why I've been running around a little bit this morning after we did a show last night, which was very cool in Dunwoody at Brook Run Park with our friends at Rush Union. We had a pitch invasion. We had a Nick and Leafy invasion. Nick and Leafy brought gifts. Got to see lots of loyal listeners hanging out as well. Katie Weaver might have injured somebody in pickup afterwards. I don't know. Just what I hear. All kinds of stuff. It was good times. Thanks to everybody for coming out. Thanks to Scott from the Flood Project for setting it up. And thanks everybody who hung out and watched us on Twitch and showed up. Jarrett did not show up, by the way. Hi, Jarrett.
Hi, that's correct. Yeah, I was by the time I get a kid to bed, it was late, and I live on the
No, it's okay.
northwest side of town. I would have
A
needed the
traffic
ability to
challenge
phase through
situation.
time and space to get there in a reasonable amount of time. So I
Yeah,
just instead I
those
just
sound like
enjoy
good
the FOMO.
excuses. They sound like good excuses. They do. It's okay. It's okay. Next time. Next time we're in Greenville if you want to come to that, Jared. Our next live show.
You mean the place that's somehow even further away? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, exactly. All right, we got lots of stuff today. Greg Garza going to join the show at 9:30. We'll talk Atlanta, Montreal, among other things. You know how it goes on the Friday free kick. We bounce around to some different things in that. We've got the MLS Weekend Whiparound. Now, question for you, Jarrett, because your schedule is always all over the place. When are you leaving us today?
Okay, so I've kind of adjusted my day to you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Wow. You
Um,
don't show up last night, but you adjust the day to day. This is good.
Well, he's stationary. That's how he can do this.
no, I'm going to disappear
Okay.
while Greg Garza is here,
Okay.
so it's not too crowded,
Okay.
and then I'll be back for the whip around.
You are coming back at 10. Okay. I was going to say,
I
we
will
could
come
move the
back.
whip around up if we needed to.
No, like the whip around. I mean, the whip around is how we wrap things up. That's how
It
we
is.
end the. That's how we end the week. I don't want to be the one who ruins that tradition and possibly brings upon bad juju more so than I already do.
That's good thinking, Jared. That's really good. Speaking of possibly bad juju, let's move to Ralph Rangnick for a minute. So,
Right out the gate.
I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. So Ralph, and if you remember, and I might have to go back into the archives and pull some clips because I remember a very heated discussion with myself and Nick Leafy about Ralph and how successful he would be at Manchester United and all that.
Yeah.
Honestly, at Manchester United, it's been about a wash. Like, I mean, what he's done there as an interim, they're not playing like Ralph ball. They're not bad. They're not good. They're just kind of there. He hasn't really had an effect, which again makes me wonder why you go down this road. And to hire him, you have to give him a 2-year consultancy afterwards. Well, now that time where he's going to be a consultant is going to be included in time where he's going to be managing the Austrian national team. Okay. He also, as he has, dropped those quotes out there about, I'll take over as national team manager of Austria at the end of the season, but will continue consultancy with Man United. I'm looking forward to helping United become a real force again. Okay. He also said, I wouldn't say I would be a big part moving forward, but we have agreed on the content and time of my consultancy role. Though, as I have said, I haven't spoken to Eric Tenhog, who's going to be the manager coming in. I'm more than happy and willing to help and change things for the better. Which is it? What? Like, what's he doing here? First off, if he negotiated it or his agents negotiated it, I still think that Manchester United's board was had by a wonderful PowerPoint or a wonderful speech or whatever, because they hired somebody as an interim, gave him some kind of agreement for 2 years of consultancy, which I'm assuming he's being paid for. And he hasn't had any impact on the team, really. None. Nothing outside of being kind of surly and post-game stuff, which fine. And now he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Like, I want to help lead them back as a consultant. Yes. No, I'm not really all that involved, and I haven't even talked to the managers coming in. This stuff makes Manchester United look like an absolute clown car with 12 clowns in the back of a Volkswagen Beetle hurtling down the M4 at about 140 miles an hour, swerving because one of the tires is flat. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard from a supposed big club. It's a joke. What are they doing? Just cancel his consultancy and just let him go. It was a bad idea to begin with. If you're going to bring in somebody like Ralf Rangnick, and he has his place 100%. Personally, as I said when this was announced, I don't think these kinds of managers who are very rigid and everything about them is focused on their way, that's it. It's all about them, because it is, and that's not being like arrogant from him. That's the way he works. Okay, that's fine. You want to be an agent of change and all that, that's great. You can't do it as an interim, and you can't do it as a consultant afterwards, and you can't do it when you walk in the door and you're like, I might recommend to hire myself. You can't do that. This was a bad idea from the beginning. They haven't committed to anything in the idea. He hasn't committed to anything in the idea. And they all look like clowns, except for Ralf, who's probably going to be getting 2 paychecks, at least for some period of time. And he gets a national team job that's probably a really good fit for him. Manchester United got played. They willingly allowed themselves to be played. And they look foolish. And they're too big for that. I don't think, first off, I don't think these kinds of managers work in clubs of this size. I've said it about Marcelo Bielsa, who I have the utmost respect for. I have respect for Ralf Rangnick as a manager. What he does, it's very rigid, but it can be successful in the right place. It can't be successful at a big club. You're dealing with different personalities. I'm sorry, when you're talking about the best players in the world, they don't really care what Ralf Rangnick has to say about chasing and pressing. And if you don't have the best players in the world, you're not going to win the Champions League. And Manchester United is in the business of winning the Champions League. I know it's been a long time. Ha ha ha. That's true. But you're not the club of that size if you're just wanting to be mid-table and maybe make a chase every once in a while. Those are the kinds of clubs where this kind of style, where you are trying to punch above your weight. Those are the clubs where Ralf Rangnick can go in and be successful as a club manager, because lower expectations. It's a lower level of talent. It's guys who are probably going to be willing to do whatever he says. These guys aren't. It's obvious. I mean, we've seen it. He's backed off of it too. I mean, credit to him to trying to get something out of the season with Manchester United, but he's not doing what he normally does. He's backed off of trying to have them do what he does. It's generic vanilla ball right now. And it's feed Cristiano Ronaldo, and he's a great player, and he's probably going to find a goal here and there, and cool, you're good. That's all you got. You can't play this way. Marcelo Bielsa, and I know Pep was being very deferential to one of his mentors when he said, Bielsa could come in here and take Manchester City further than I can, and I couldn't go to Leeds and be successful. That's Pep being Pep. It's not true. It's not true at all, because Bielsa's style isn't going to work with the best of the best. Now, Manchester City isn't as far away from it as some other clubs would be, but still, it's not going to work because it's not for everybody. You're not going to be able to convince some of the best players in the world to play that way. You got to bend a little bit in that situation. You got to be adaptable. You got to be flexible. You got to go into this and say, man, we got finals every Wednesday here, and in a league game on the midweek, and it's chaos, and I got to deal with what I got to deal with. And I got to be flexible in my style. I can't just run these guys into the ground. Rangnick doesn't do that. Bielsa and others of that ilk don't do that. They're not the best fits for the big clubs. It takes a special person to be successful at the big clubs. And they might not be successful at the smaller clubs, where a Bielsa or a Rangnick, where the guys who are more rigid would be. This was a bad idea from the begin with. It hasn't worked. There's no plan for it to work. The consultancy thing has been a joke from the beginning. And now the joke is on Manchester United with the pie smashed in the face via the Austrian national team. So it's an absolute clown show. And this is not what Manchester United used to be. Maybe they'll get back there. I don't know, but It's not even on the field. It's not even the transfer sagas anymore that are purely the clown show. I mean, the board made some really stupid decisions this year. And you just, did you hurt yourself anymore? Probably not. But did you help yourself and did you look like a bunch of clowns in this scenario? Yeah, you did. It just hasn't worked. And now your consultant is saying, I'm going to be part of this. And no, I'm not really that big a part of it. I'm going to be working over here, but I'm going to be committing time over here. Yeah, we know how that goes. Give it. How long you think, Jarrett, until they buy him out of his consultant contract?
10 months?
I don't even think it's that long. I don't even know if you get to the start of the season.
Tenhog walks in the door.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling. Is Tenhog walks in and says, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, to this point, look, Man U, if y'all wanted to spend money like this on this kind of wild goose chase, chaos, nonsense, like John back me up here, y'all could have had Houston Nutt for less.
You could.
Could have had a lot of things for less.
You could have had Houston Nutt for less, and would it have been worse?
Well, yeah, probably it would have. I'm going to be pretty strong in saying, yeah, it would have. I would have liked to have seen a debate between Ralph Rangnick and Houston Nutt, though. That might have been worth whatever money.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't think either one of them would have understood anything going on in that conversation.
No. But it's just so aimless, wandering, and just it's like you're kind of just like wandering in the desert. Congratulations. You're not going to really get anywhere. You find an oasis every now and then. Cool, great. You're still in the desert. You're not in a civilization.
I got to send a reminder to Coco as he wants to try to slander University of Georgia right now.
I left that one.
Yo, buddy, you remember what happened earlier this year in the national championship game? You can drop the jokes these days. You know what I'm saying? You can come up with another school you want to make fun of. Go for it. Have fun. Manchester United's worse than any of those. Oh, be careful. They get really defensive. Don't say that, because even though now they can't use the 1980 thing anymore. Be careful. Be careful, man. They're gonna start attacking you. Be careful.
You know what your problem is, Tech? You should go back to the triple option.
Oh, jeez, Jarrett, you chose violence. Anyway, no, Manchester United is living on old success. Absolutely true. And they have not moved into modern days. They have not moved past Alex Ferguson. And it's not Alex Ferguson's fault. Anybody who tries to blame this, I mean, like, I see people like, oh, he's still around. That's a problem. No, he's a legend. Shut up. Sir Alex Ferguson's got less influence than Ralph Rangnick right now, and whatever this fake consultancy thing is that he's doing. So, I mean, no, he's the legend. He deserves to be there. But they haven't ever moved past it. You know, they've gotten antsy. They didn't give Moyes time. The more that Moyes finds success in other places, that looks like they rushed it. Might not have been the guy, but they rushed it at least. And then it's just been reaction. Van Gaal and Mourinho and Rangnick. I mean, you're getting some of the most difficult personalities in world football that you brought in the door there. And I don't know if they were trying to replicate an aspect of Sir Alex's personality. I mean, yeah, he could be difficult. He could be prickly for sure. I don't know if that's what they zeroed in on. Is that's what we need? It kind of feels like it, and it's absurd. People can still say what they want, but the only guy who actually progressed the team from one to the other is Ole. And Ole wasn't the guy to take him to the next level. No, I think that was proven. But he's the only one who took them from something to somewhere else further down the road. That's it. He got him to second. That's it. The rest of them, I mean, Mourinho will talk about his Europa League. Okay, fine. But then he torpedoed everything on his way out the door. So it's bad. And look, maybe it's Tenhog. Maybe it's Tenhog. I don't know. But right now, this whole situation, this just adds to the clown show. There's a new clown in town. That's where we're at with Manchester United right now.
The only winner in this was Ralph Rangnick's bank account.
Yeah, and look, Ralph's got to look out for Ralph. No problem with that. Ralph's got to get paid, and Ralph's getting paid. DM Tim, I mean, there's nothing for Austria right now until the end of the season. So, I mean, there's there's nothing for him to do there. It seems like it's not like he really cares where he's working or what his job function or responsibilities are anyway. They might have a friendly or something at the end of the season, but nah, he's still at Manchester United. He's still doing his thing. He's not leaving Manchester United because he ain't missing out on paychecks. It's just foolish. It's all foolish. It's all ridiculous. Anyway, Michael Head, settle down, my friend. UGA fans need a different foil talking about Tech. What's there to make fun of at Tech? I'm going to leave that one alone because Tech fans have talked so much trash to me about Georgia over the years, and it all got really quiet after January. I don't know
bring
about
back the triple option, and we'll all be friends again.
Settle down. I don't know about most Georgia fans, but I don't have animosity towards Tech, and I think the ones who do are the ones older than me.
Yeah,
I think when it was more of like the rivalry, I think others have kind of passed it. So I think on the Georgia conversation, Tech is not part of it, Michael. Don't worry about that.
I think it's as we phase in and out
as we go into college football down here.
Yeah, we'll phase out really quickly. I think it's a generational thing. It depends on what age you were those formative years.
Yeah,
of who your rival was, because I can tell you a lot of Georgia fans my age, Jason, the ones I know personally, don't really have that same animosity to Tennessee that you have. Because
I do. I do.
But you were there. You were there when Peyton Manning was doing Peyton Manning things. Like that was your formative years with it.
Yeah.
People my age, like it was more of as we graduated high school, Alabama was coming into its own.
Yeah.
And Florida, you had Urban Meyer winning 2 titles at Florida, so it's more of the anti-Florida thing. And then you get like the celebration on the field against Florida. It's more of like an animosity towards Florida than it is to Tennessee. Than it is. I'm
kind
of
in a little bit of the in between because Florida, like people slightly older than me, I think have more animosity towards Florida, and then people after me, like there was that little bit of I might have caught the Zook time, so good for me, I guess. But no, like I mean, I don't have this. I don't have animosity.
Such a grim sentence.
Wow. I don't have animosity in the same way towards Alabama as others. It's just what it is. And hey, one thing, and I've said before on the show and on many other shows that I am not a Peyton Manning fan. I'm not a Tennessee fan. But what he's doing at Tech with scholarship for Demaryius Thomas, that is awesome. That is very, very cool of Peyton Manning to do that for a former teammate with the Broncos. So. Full credit to Peyton and to Tech and everybody putting that together. That's awesome. Okay, college football down here is over. I know the NFL draft is going on. Y'all can argue about that later. Falcons took a wide receiver, and it's anarchy in the streets. Let's see what they do with the other 2 second-round picks and the other 2 third-round picks.
Who's ready for Matt Corral, Atlanta Falcons quarterback?
Yeah. Just wait. There's plenty more picks in the next couple of days in the 2nd and 3rd round, and we'll see where it is. Anyway,
Matt Corral would be insanely entertaining. I don't know if it'd be good, but it'd be entertaining. Back to soccer.
Bits of news before we get into Greg Garza here in about a half hour. There are rumors. We've talked about this with Boca Juniors in Argentina. They lost to Corinthians. Battaglia, their manager, has been on the outs for a while now. But rumors starting last night, Daniel Casiol is saying that the next Boca Juniors manager will be Sebastian Becasese from Defensa y Justicia. Now, he went to Independiente. It didn't work out. He went across the street, literally, to Racing, and he beat Independiente in one of the more ridiculous games I've ever seen in my life. I think there was blood in about the 5th minute. And then he left Racing when their board and sporting director and everything completely melted down, and he's getting ready for, I think it was a Libertadores quarterfinal. I think it was against Boca, and the board president and the sporting director are having a shouting match in the locker room or in the hallway, and it's like, yeah, I'm out. This is absurd. Finished the year out. He left. He went back to Defensa y Justicia. He's done well. This would be a huge move up for him, and he's very young, but he's got a lot of experience because he started coaching really young. He worked with Sampaoli. Sampaoli's got that Bielsa influence in him, but I think Sampaoli's taking it a little bit different place. He's doing really well at Marseille, by the way. And Becasese takes it into a little bit different place. So does he go to Boca and have success? I have no idea, but it's going to be fascinating if he does, because he is a big personality that hasn't had that level of a job. And I've said it for a while. He's one of these guys that I think, an MLS club should be looking at. A Liga MX club should be looking at. And I think he'd have a lot of success. So Bekasese to Boca is being rumored, and that would be a fascinating move.
So what does Defensa do to counter that?
They don't. I mean, they have to find somebody else. They have to take a chance. It's a small club with a small budget, but has been punching above its weight for a long time. They found Aaron Crespo after, I think, failing on one, after Bekasese left the first time, or I think it was actually the second time, because I think he was there for a little bit further back. They eventually found Crespo, who did great, and then Crespo went to Brazil, and it's Brazil that didn't last very long, and now he's off in the Middle East, which he's getting paid. I guess good for him. I don't know if they can't convince him to come back because they can't outpay anybody for him. So, you're probably taking a chance on somebody, and if you want somebody who is around the style of play, but I don't think he's going to go to a club of defensive size, there is one Gabriel Heinze.
That's where I was trying to guide you to. Great job.
I knew it. I knew it. I mean, I just don't know if Heinze takes it.
I like Coco's point. They're just going to take an assistant from River on loan.
Yeah. No, they do that on the player side. I don't know if they're going to do that on the manager side. I don't know. It's probably going to be somebody we don't know, would be my guess. It's probably going to be somebody who's either, a former player who's looking to get their start or get kind of a restart, like maybe a Heinze could be. More than likely, it's somebody from the staff or somebody who's young and up and coming and will work for cheap. And you're rolling the dice a little bit. So we'll see where that goes. Let's get into John's favorite place, England.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Atkinson and Jonathan Moss, referees, retiring at the end of the season, according to the Telegraph. That's two more. Wasn't there already one who was going to retire at the end of the year? So three
big ones.
3 big referees retiring. I'm sure that's going to help the quality of refereeing in the Premier League. West Ham is trying to find the complete and utter morons and criminals who attacked Eintracht Frankfurt radio commentators yesterday because they had the audacity to actually call a goal with any kind of a volume. So they had their headsets ripped off and thrown on the floor at the London Stadium on Thursday. BBC, Reuters, many others have picked up on the story. Derek Ray was sharing elements of it. The commentators have done interviews with Sky in Germany. The incident happened not when Eintracht Frankfurt scored, and I guess, again, these guys are calling the goal probably loudly. And after West Ham equalized, then the fans were emboldened to attack radio commentators and rip headsets off and throw them on the floor. West Ham said they will be working to identify the offender. No, how about you lose the will be, and why don't you say you're working towards identifying the offender? And offenders, it sounds like. The broadcasters work for German station ARD. They were in the back row of the media section, which had supporters directly behind it. That's horrible setup on West Ham's part. That's embarrassing, and UEFA should be having some pretty serious conversations with them about putting these commentators in that spot to begin with. West Ham spokesperson said, in line with our zero tolerance approach, anyone identified will have their details passed to the police. They will be given an indefinite ban and be unable to enter London Stadium and travel with the club. There's no place for this kind of behavior. That's a good statement. Find these guys, ban them, arrest them, because that's assault. And yeah, I take it a little seriously because, this is kind of what I do as well. And luckily, there's not a situation that I've ever been in where I've had to even think about something like this happening. I mean, in LA, we were in LAFC. We were in the camera well, where, I guess people could have come up from behind us if they were on the concourse. I guess, yeah, now that I think about it, they could have. Luckily, they didn't. There's no other stadiums around that I can think of that we would be in that situation. Like, there's some where the booth is very close to the fans, but they'd have to get up into the window. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this where you can get hit from behind. That's the thing that's scary. I mean, if I see people trying to climb up into the window, I can deal with that. You know what I mean? If I'm getting attacked from behind, I don't know what's happening. That's insane. So West Ham fans who did this, y'all should go to jail. And I hope the club takes this as seriously as their statements sound like they are. I hope we get some resolution here very quick.
And the sooner that you do it, I think the better chance you have in figuring out who these individuals are, because then you let it linger, you let it lag, and then it goes down the line. Get it done quick. Don't mess around, and absolutely prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law, because it was unacceptable that you do that to someone who's trying to do their job. Absolutely unacceptable and stupid on those fans' part.
It's beyond stupid. It's criminal.
Mm-hmm.
It's assault. Couple things in MLS before we get to the big story of the day. Real Salt Lake have brought back Anderson Julio, Ecuadorian forward. It's a permanent deal from Atlético San Luis and Liga MX. Contract through 3 years, options for the 25 and 26 seasons. Played with RSL last year on loan, 8 goals in 30 games. Vancouver has added Andres Cubas, Paraguayan defensive midfielder who developed at Boca. 21 appearances in the second division in France with Nimes, who was relegated last year. He made 27 appearances in Ligue 1 last year. After developing at Boca, then he moved to Talleres, and he played 51 times there before going to France. So he will be a designated player, defensive midfielder for the Vancouver Whitecaps. The big story of the day when it comes to MLS is Inter Miami got it done. Now, of course, people are still like, oh, believe it when the shovels are in the ground. John, you do acknowledge that Inter Miami is a real franchise now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. You didn't for a while. You kept saying, I'll believe it when they play a game. It's like they signed players, John. No, I'll believe it when they actually play. You're still good. They're real?
Yeah, I'm good. They're real.
Do you believe the stadium's going to happen? Because it's been approved now for a 99-year lease agreement.
Yeah, they've got to get through the zoning issues, but yes.
Come on.
It's going to happen. It's just going to be ugly up until it happens.
It's going to be ugly, sure, and it could get held, but I don't think it can be blocked at this point.
I think that we saw in the how many hours of debate, was it a 7-hour session yesterday that started at 2:30 in the afternoon?
Something like that.
That you had the 5 commissioners who they were supposed to, after the initial debate, they were supposed to get their 15 minutes. It's like, all right, I've got 15 minutes to state my case, and here's why, and here's what I'm looking for from Inter Miami. And then they were supposed to have a second round after that. First dude took 45 minutes.
Yeah, welcome to politics. This is not a story. I sat in on.
That's just a day in the life.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The only time I had to sit in on any of this, and I will never do it again, was the conversations in DeKalb County when Atlanta United was going to build their training facility in DeKalb. And it had already been agreed to, and everything's on the table. And then you had a couple of politicians who decided to play politics and make a name for themselves and pledged to make it difficult, and they're going to fight, and blah, 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 blah. And you had some people who came up from the public and the public portion of it who were bringing up the most asinine stories and points that weren't points, but they thought they were points about why it was a bad idea. It was insane. I mean, I'm just sitting there like, this is politics. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you got, in this case, it's even worse than it was in DeKalb, where you had a couple people who were trying to use this as a springboard to other success. That didn't really work. You got worse than that here in Miami, where you've got that, and you've got lots of competing business interests, and you've got the weight of the Marlins Stadium debacle hanging over your head. It was super complicated to begin with, but then you add all of those factors and you get a meeting that has been delayed 4 times to begin with for an actual vote. And then, I mean, I thought they were going to delay it again. I thought they were going to get to a point in this yesterday and say, yeah, we're not voting today. Because you got people who are going to try to get famous off of it.
I mean, that's what you want to try to do in a situation like this with a
Sadly, it's what you want to try to do. It's a joke when you're actually like, maybe trying to do your job that you got voted in to do. But anyway.
Yeah, no, you're sitting there and you're looking for your soundbite. You're looking for your moment to sit there and say, see, I was a part of this moment and here's what I got. It's politicians in moments like this. They want to sit there and say, okay, what's in it for me? And it's, not as much what's in it for my constituents and for my district. It's what's in it for me and what can I get out of this deal.
Not every politician, to be fair, but yeah, in these kinds of situations, often it brings out the worst in it because it is a opportunity to grandstand, and that's what you get, and that's why it went forever. But I think the story here is coming into it. You knew there was one person who was never going to support it. You needed 4 out of 5, so you got to convince everybody else. I had heard from people who have been involved in aspects of this. I had heard that they had 3 and they didn't have the 4th one at all. And this was on the weekend. They didn't have it yet. And this was probably going to get delayed while they continued to figure out what they could do to get the 4th one. Well, they did it yesterday. They did it wasn't an official vote. Is that correct, John? They did like a straw poll kind of thing.
It was like a straw vote.
Okay. So they got it to 3-2. And then they had the public conversations about what to do to get it to 4-1. And a couple of the things that came up, they were in Sam Stejskal's really good article at The Athletic as some of the points here. And I'm really glad that he wrote that because that was a really well done piece to break all this down and get past a lot of the politics. It came down to a couple of different things that are real things, not grandstanding. One is the rent conversation about what the team would be paying because they're not getting public money for this. That was something that I think was completely and utterly misconstrued by people who wanted to make a story. They're not getting public money. They're paying rent. The real conversation was they're not paying 2022 and beyond rent. They were set up to pay like 2018 rent. Okay, so they bumped those numbers up. Is that a fair way to put it without getting into the weeds?
Yeah, that going to, I guess, a cost of living adjustment is probably the best way to describe it.
It's time. It's time. It's the same thing with contract. It's time value of money you're paying. You lock in that 2018 rent, which isn't great if you're the one renting it out in 10 years' time.
Yeah. So the city is going to get more money per year on the deal. That's good. And then the other one is, it's a very specific thing that they did have to figure out the way to do it. It's because this golf course, Melreese Golf Course, is technically parkland. Whenever the city does a deal in the situation, and it's not stadium specific, it's any kind of a deal, and you take parkland and convert it, there has to be a 1-to-1, new parkland created. Okay, that's a good thing to have in place. That's a good thing to do here. Well, some of the actual facility will be parkland because they're creating a lot of green space in it. Okay, that's great, but not all of it is because you're putting a stadium on it. You're putting other things on it. So how could you figure out the rest of it? And they came to that conclusion, and that was really the biggest point for the second no vote going to the 4th yes, right?
Yeah, and that was literally, it was trying to figure out acreage for acreage and how it was going to figure out in the whole dynamic of Miami Freedom Park.
Well, no. I don't think it was that, John. I don't, because there's only the acreage is the acreage, and you're taking acreage away to build a stadium. I think it was other places in the city of Miami that the club has to invest in to create new parkland. I mean, you can't make new land on land. Unless they're magicians, which I don't think they are, but maybe. Because, you're building a stadium. So that's taking parkland and making it something else. So you can't create new parkland on that facility. You're going elsewhere to do it. The part that you want to go a little, it's not Black Helicopter. I think it's actually really smart on Miami's part or Inter Miami, because we've had this conversation about the size of the stadium, 25,000 seats. That's not bad, but it's like, I
kind of wish it was more ambitious personally, but
Jarrett, I think Inter Miami might have had a plan all along, and I think it might be coming together because And I don't care. I know some people in the soccer world get really bent out of shape when you share a facility. In this case, I think it's brilliant because they came up with the idea to build 25,000, and the University of Miami has wanted to be closer to Miami since they had to leave the Orange Bowl. This was part of the conversations around it. Well, can we get the University of Miami football team there? Can we get that happen? Not with 25,000 seats. But if you bump that up to 40,
I swear to God, if y'all don't name this place Joe Robbie Stadium.
Well, I don't think you can.
No, it's Miami Freedom Park.
Yeah, no. Why do you want to name it Joe Robbie Stadium? What?
The
I mean,
history.
no offense to the Robbie. Yeah, but that was no, Jared.
I mean, what you
got
right?
No, sir. No, sir.
My Joe Robbie Stadium at Miami Freedom Park. Is that what you're angling for there, Jarrett?
No,
in a sense,
Bowl, if you're doing that. If you're going back to history with the University of Miami, you're calling it the Orange Bowl at Miami Freedom Park.
There you go.
Let's do it.
But yeah, right now they play at Hard Rock, and Hard Rock is in Miami Gardens, which is 16 miles north of the current construction site for Miami Freedom Park. And what that does is it draws them closer to the city of Miami, and it gets them into that. It gets them into a part of the discussion, and I think that's a great idea as a part of the planning there for the Moss brothers in Miami Freedom Park.
I think it was in the back pocket all along. And it's smart because you put that 25,000 seater on the table with the idea that, hey, you want it to be 40? Well, pay up. And University of Miami, there's one thing that they have around the football program and around the athletic department. It's cash.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, buddy.
You got somebody doing NIL deals right now with 115 different collegiate athletes at Miami, all different sports, all different deals. It's mind-blowing what's going on right now with that guy. You go to him and it's like, hey, you're going to get Miami football closer to the city, get them into this place. How much money you got? Let's do it. I don't have a problem with it. It's fine. Like, yeah, you might see the remnants of football lines on the field from time to time. Again, can deal. I've seen rugby lines on the field in the Premier League. I don't think the Premier League shut down over it. You make the best deal for the club and the fans and everything. And I think this is it. If you're able to go from 25 to 40,000 or maybe more than 40, I don't know. I could see that going up higher. Great. Good deal for everybody. I think it's a win-win. I think it's amazing for Inter Miami to pull this off. They stuck to it. I know Beckham gets a lot of shade everywhere, but man, he had this idea a long time ago about bringing MLS to Miami and not Fort Lauderdale and getting it done. And he could have walked away a million times and he didn't. And he gets this thing done. Like, what's left now? There's going to be a vote on zoning changes. I mean, you've got the lease agreement. It's going to be kind of hard for people to really stand on, hey, the public voted to allow the city to negotiate the lease. Now the lease is done. It's going to be really hard to block whatever zoning changes need to get done. People will grandstand on it. I don't think it stops it. And I think there's a couple other little minor things about taking the next steps, but the zoning changes is the biggest one.
I mean, go back in history and look at what happened with Truist Park and the Battery. Once it got announced, which to this day, still one of the most impressive jobs in the modern era of social media of keeping a project under wraps and not letting it leak. But once it was announced, like, it was going to pass. Like, I mean, Mike Lee was going to get that through. He was going to ramrod it through if he had to. And everything you had was grandstanding, where you had the Cobb County meetings, which were, by the way, some of the most entertaining chaos I've ever seen in my life. And look, I spent a year at the State House, like, covering one of the legislative sessions on the ground floor of hell itself.
Mm-hmm.
Those Cobb County meetings were outstanding entertainment. Like, I
would
be working. I used to pull up the live stream and just listen to the craziness. You're going to get that. Like, you can go back and look at what happened with Truist Park, formerly SunTrust, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how people feel about the name. Don't matter. You go look at that. That's going to be, you can look at that as your blueprint of what's coming.
Oh, man.
For the way they'll discuss it and debate it. I mean, like, And yeah, you want to do like the live, work, play thing. I mean, that just makes sense. Like, yeah, you could get a stadium, or you could get a stadium and some commercial properties for the next 99 years that you can start building profit off of. And as far as the stadium size goes, yeah, 20. I don't love. Like, I love the idea. If it is in your back pocket, if we're going to increase the size to get University of Miami in here, great. Because if you do go 25, you sure as hell, in my opinion, better have a plan to expand it down the road. Because 25
or you're going to be going to Hard Rock to play big games, and you're just going to have to commit to doing that from time to time. Because if you want to be what Inter Miami has said they want to be, as big of a club as they want to be, you got to be in a bigger spot than 25. If you're in a spot that's 40, okay, that can work. But still, yeah. I would consider playing some games, and it might be international friendlies, it might be whatever, but I would consider playing some at Hard Rock.
I mean, yeah, imagine in Inter Miami has these aspirations, so let's play it out. Imagine you end up in CONCACAF Champions League, and Club America gets drawn with Inter Miami with a 2-leg tie in the third round of CONCACAF Champions League. You imagine playing that game at Hard Rock? Be nuts.
Yeah, well, yeah, it would be. I think one thing about Miami, though, like, it's not as strong of a Mexican population as you would think. That would be a destination kind of game, though, where people would be coming from everywhere to go to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it's Miami. It's already a destination city. That's
exactly.
I mean, I know Miami's not necessarily a city built on the identity of having a bunch of people from Mexico, but it's already a destination city. And then if Miami builds the way they want to, and they really seem to be going in the right direction now, ironically, after everything they did wrong to start with,
yeah.
And then you start bringing in big clubs from around the hemispheres. Yeah, it would make sense to have, hey, we're going to play most of our games here, but when the lights are brightest and when the names are biggest, we're going to go to Hard Rock and have a good old time, everybody.
We'll do a CONCACAF game there. We'll do a friendly there. You get Inter Miami and Barcelona or something. It'll be huge.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
But once you get into the city, then you can do all those things. And they've cleared the biggest hurdle you could possibly have to get this done. So, again, full credit to them for getting this done. I didn't think it would happen right now. I thought they would eventually get it done. I didn't think it would happen yesterday. I thought they'd need more time. It all worked out the way that it was supposed to a long time ago. So good for Inter Miami. Now New York City, you are on the clock. Let's see where that goes.
You're back on the clock.
No, they've been on the clock. They're on the clock even louder now.
Line, yeah.
You've been on the clock. Miami bumped you off the clock for 12 hours yesterday. You back on.
Yeah. The thing that it comes down to for NYC, and we've talked about it, they've done a lot of things quietly last year, in the years, I think, preceding the pandemic, or at the beginning of the pandemic, where they had lined up a lot of things with neighborhood organizations to make progress. And then everything really slowed down and people started jumping in, trying to make it difficult. Well, they've been lining up a bunch of stuff again, and they have done a bunch of announcements with not your normal kinds of big partners. Like, they're doing partners with construction companies and like infrastructure build out people and concrete people. And it's like, okay. Really seeming to corner the market on stuff that might be related to, I don't know, building a stadium.
Right.
They've announced a bunch of those kinds of partnerships quietly, but they've announced them in the last, I think, 6 weeks since the beginning of March. So maybe it's to help push something through. Maybe there's things further along that these are some next steps, but that's a good sign to me. We'll see if they can get it done. I think Miami Stadium opens before anything New York City does. And I don't have 100% feeling that New York City gets something done, because it's just that hard to do. But it does seem like they're making progress, Jarrett.
It does, and they're going to have to keep making progress. And I think we're to the point now, like, New York City is going to have to keep showing some sort of tangible progress. It doesn't have to be, hey, we got a stadium next week. But when we're checking in, it's like a kid cleaning their room. Like, I need to be able to come in and check in and see that you've done at least something, even if it's just organizing stuff. Just keep showing me there's progress or else we got to start having conversations, because you can't just stay here you can't just keep doing this forever. At some point, something has to give. And you're making the right steps, but I need to keep seeing progress for my own sanity.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have an announcement of something in principle here pretty soon. You're running out of time, and I don't think that these partnerships, and I think it was 6 different partnerships that I've seen mentioned specifically that are all with ties that you can logically see and say, okay, that's construction kinds of partnerships. I don't think it happens as a coincidence, and I don't think it's just nonsense either. I don't know what it means in terms of a timeline, but it does seem like building blocks are being made for how you can build, not literal building blocks in this sense. We'll see. We'll see where it can go. But they've got work to do. And if they don't, then they're going to have to leave the Yankee Stadium. They can't do that long term anymore. That's got to go. All right. Other stuff on the board before we get to Greg Garza here in just a bit. Real Madrid, all they need is 1 point in La Liga to secure the title. They got this little thing called a second leg of a Champions League semifinal around the corner. They've got a lot of time to get this 1 point that they need. They're probably going to play their reserves this weekend. You've got some injury concerns already. I think Carlo Ancelotti is going to go complete reserves this weekend because they don't need to get the point in this one against Espanyol. And you might be able to get it with reserves anyway.
They're a minus 204 right now in the juice boxes.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at the lineup and see how you feel about Real Madrid's reserves, but that's probably going to be an all-reserve lineup. I wouldn't expect to see any of the big names. InvestCorp, according to La Gazzetta dello Sport, is getting closer and closer to completing this takeover of Milan. And one update to their plans, we had talked about the stadium that Milan and Inter were going to partner on, as they are currently sharing a stadium now, the San Siro. According to reports in Gazzetta dello Sport, InvestCorp might be like, yeah, we ain't partnering with anybody. We don't want you. A project for a joint stadium had been approved at the end of 2021. Now there's a lot of questions. Again, politics and Italian politics and Miami politics, maybe actually kind of similar. Construction isn't going to begin until 2027. You've got another area just north of Milan, Sesto San Giovanni, who is now stepping up to say, yeah, we can get things moving faster. And that could be what InvestCorp does and leaves Inter in the dust. That would, I'm sure, be very well received. I'm sure it would go over really well, and I'm sure there'd be no commentary about that at all. Yeah. Rumor and innuendo. Paulo Dybala, according to reports out of Italy, Eric Tenhog wants to bring Paulo Dybala to Manchester United. Inter are the ones who are in the pole position to sign him, but looks like Manchester United might be in play for Dybala. They want to free up some wages before they go down that road. But they're also, according to La Repubblica in Italy, they have indicated to Napoli they're willing to pay £84 million for Victor Osimhen, who Arsenal is also interested in. Osimhen has reportedly made it clear that he wants Champions League football next year. He might wait it out and see where the table falls before he makes the decision. We talked a lot about Robert Lewandowski and what could be next for him. The follow-ups to what we talked about yesterday with his agent meeting with Barcelona, then going back to Munich. Now it sounds like at Bayern, he wants more money to stay. The reports are that he would take less to go to Barcelona, but now, according to Marca, he has gone back to Bayern, or his agent's gone back to Bayern, and wants a new 2-year deal after his deal ends in 23, as well as a wage increase. So essentially, he wants to be under contract for 3 more years and make more money to stay at Bayern. So stay tuned on that one. And Aberdeen in the news. Calvin Ramsey, we talked about Liverpool reportedly being interested in him. Now Leeds are reportedly with permission to speak to him about a potential deal. Jarrett, what do you think about Calvin Ramsey heading south?
Calvin Ramsey had a good year. I think everybody hoped it would be better for everyone in Aberdeen than it was. But yeah, depending on what the price tag is, go ahead and get that money if you're Aberdeen. I mean, yeah, they got a lot to do this summer, and it would help to have some funds to play with. Ramsey is going to be part of that conversation. Lewis Ferguson as well, I'm sure, is going to be attracting some attention for his work in the midfield. And my time's already up pretty much as we transition out, but I do want to point out while we're in Scotland for a second that how we've talked about this Liverpool Manchester City thing, go back and forth, and how chaotic it's been for them. Don't sleep on Rangers' schedule and what they might be on the cusp of dealing with. Last time we saw them, they somehow survived Europa League to get to the semifinal in a drunken madness of 120 minutes, then beat Celtic on the weekend in 120 minutes to advance to their cup final. They lost 1-0 yesterday in Leipzig, so they're not bad at all. Going back to Ibrox and just need one goal to get this thing tied back up. They play Celtic this weekend again in a game that might very well they can't win the league this weekend, but they could sure as hell lose it, because if they lose at Celtic Park, they'll be 9 points back. But if they win, then they're 3 points off with 4 games left.
If you win, you are realistically in a title race. If you lose, it's done.
Yeah. But they're gonna have it's a weird situation there. I'm very interested to see how Giovanni manages it, because you also have to go for the next week. You have Leipzig coming to town. You're only down 1 goal. They believe they can turn that around. They believe in themselves enough to do that. I want to see how they balance it, but it's a hell of a schedule for them the last month. I'm amazed at how well they've managed it.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll be able to tightrope that one. I got a feeling they'll have a bit of a letdown this weekend, but we'll just have to wait and see. Jarrett, you're back at 10?
That's the plan.
All right. Well, MLS Weekend Whiparound at 10 with Jarrett. So we'll see you in a bit.
All right.
How's it going?
How you guys doing, man? I couldn't hear you. We're on mute?
Yeah. I tried to unmute quickly, and I didn't time it right.
No worries, man. How you guys doing?
Doing good. It's early. We started a little early today. I'm thrown off. So
no worries, man. How many cups of coffee in?
I took a piece of advice from you this week, and I watched the Ronaldinho documentary on FIFA Plus. Amazing.
Man, it is unbelievable.
Amazing documentary, and I learned a lot about him. I've been kind of on a Ronaldinho kick here lately. Where does he rank for you in the all-time greats?
Oh, man. Probably for me, I mean, I love Messi and everything that he's done, and, just being able to watch him. But if I had one idol when I was a kid, it was Ronaldinho. I didn't get to watch too much of R9. I think he's probably maybe one of the most complete players, R9, in his prime. But the most joyous player that I've ever seen play the game of soccer, and I absolutely idolized him when I was a kid, was Ronaldinho.
I think the point that I really got out of the documentary was how hard it was for him after the 2006 World Cup at Barcelona. And I think when he was at his best, you saw the smile on the field, like literally. We talk about football with a smile a lot of times, but with Ronaldinho, it was literal. You could see it, and you didn't see it for those last 2 years at Barcelona. I think everything just got so hard for him after the failure of that 2006 Brazil team at the World Cup.
I didn't realize how much adversity he had gone through. In his life in particular, not only with his personal life, but even the on-field life. I didn't know, I'd only ever watched his highlights from PSG. I didn't realize that there was a time in a circumstance where he didn't play at all. And gosh, I think it was Luis Fernandez who was the coach. I mean, little did he know what talent he was putting on.
He's not defending for me. I'm not playing him.
Gosh, man, it's just an unbelievable documentary to understand. I guess those guys, it's like what we talk about with the iceberg, right? What people see on top and what people don't see on the bottom. And seeing that the whole entire documentary, that's all I thought about was just the iceberg. Yeah, I only saw one thing of him only, and it was just everything on top. I did not ever imagine anything that guy went through personally, or dealing with pressure, or and you said it. I mean, the facial expressions after the World Cup was just so different in everything that he did, right? He started to let his life go south, and it was really noticeable. And people from the outside don't realize that, the language, I mean, speaking Portuguese, and the language that was said to him after, walking in the bus, or what they told his mother, and so many different things.
Oh my goodness.
How those things can affect you personally. And you don't, sometimes people don't understand that those people have emotions, they have feelings, they're also human beings. And the more you tackle onto them, the more it can take a toll on certain people.
So then let me ask you this: when it comes to your mentoring and what you're able to do at Beyond Goals, you mentioned the iceberg. What are the conversations like with your mentees about the iceberg, and how you navigate around it to make sure everything is the way that it's supposed to be and that you can stay as healthy as possible?
For us, there's a particular age that we have to really focus on with iceberg, right? Because I think that the kid has to be mature enough to understand, hey, these are the responsibilities, or these are the things that you will most likely go through, and whatever you do in life, if you want to achieve success, right? All the things below the water, beneath the water, are the things that people don't see, right? Anyone who has a Fortune 500 company, or whatever it may be in life, you don't know how they got there, right? You don't know what it took for them to really achieve that success. And, speaking to our mentees and helping them understand those things, that, if they're not able to, we use two words. We say embrace and cherish, right? You have to embrace those things, and you have to cherish them, even though a lot of them are negative, right? Even though a lot of them are, we might look at the picture and it has, loneliness, adapting, new environments, relationships with coaches, injuries, pressure, strict discipline, regimen, all these different things. And I think there's a certain age to where you can, especially with a lot of our, AU guys, is helping them, the academy guys, helping them understand, hey, dude, if that door of opportunity is open for you one day, all of these things on the bottom, they're gonna happen, right? Whether you want it or not, they are going to happen. And it is how you are able to, brush that off your shoulders at times, and understand that's part of the process, right? That's trusting the process of what it takes to play at that highest level. If you're not able to embrace it, if you're not able to cherish it, it takes special people to do that. And it's if you're not able to embrace it, I always say then it's not for you, right? So it's a hard one to come by, and it's sometimes we really try and pin down. And it's Mike always says it, and there's different ways you can speak to different people, right? I think Michael was so good at that, being such a great leader, is that he knew how to talk to me. He knew how to talk to Joseph. He knew how to talk to all these different guys that have such different personalities. And he was able to manage and kind of understand, okay, with this guy, I can be a little bit more harsh. With this guy, I have to understand he might take, constructive criticism a lot deeper, or a lot, where it can affect him or his confidence. And we kind of try and do the same thing with our mentees as well, and explaining that iceberg and helping, if we can get feelers of how they are and the maturity level that they're at, then sometimes the more harsh we can be in explaining how important the iceberg truly is.
You hear the cliche a lot of times about coaching, and I treat everybody the same. I think that's such an outdated way of thinking. I mean, any situation, whether you're running a boardroom, whether you're running a company, you're running a store, if you treat everybody the same, you're going to lose people. It's just everybody reacts to things differently. I mean, what you said about, with some mentees, with some people you work You can be more frank, you can be more direct. With some, you can't do that because it's not going to work.
Most definitely. It's funny that you say that because, it was good to have. I mean, Michael was in town. We spoke to Soccer in the Streets yesterday at a title school, which was awesome. And I mean, we had coffee and sat down with Joseph for a minute and visited him a little bit to see how he was doing. And, we started talking about, how it was when we were pros, when we were young. That was the conversation at the table.
Okay.
It was Michael adapting to, going into New England, playing with the Revs and dealing with maybe Taylor Twellman or guys that, had such experience and were so harsh with all the rookies. Right. And he had to take it. Right. Joseph,
that was a very old school kind of locker room.
I think all of us dealt with that old school type of locker room. And that's what we were talking about. And it was just how times have changed. Right. Yeah. It's you don't have that anymore. I remember whenever I was with Sporting Lisbon and I got to train with the first team and I had, Helder Postiga, who was a guy that was just at the final of Euros. I had a guy named Anderson Polga who won the 2002 World Cup with Brazil. Didn't play, but was there. He won a World Cup. So it's being in the same room with those guys or being in the same locker room and sharing the field. The only thing we thought, right, in our own mind was, how fast can I earn their respect, right? As harsh as these guys are going to be with me, right? As mean as these guys are probably going to be with me, what can I still do to earn their respect? Whereas today, it's sometimes, looked upon to where if you are really harsh with your rookies, you're doing something wrong. You're not guiding them in the right direction. And how times have really changed on the mental aspect of the toughness of what it may be. You kind of have to be very wary of how you treat young kids now, because, they are affected much more so maybe than when I was a kid or when we were kids. And that was the conversation yesterday of just understanding how, adapting, as now of maybe these guys that are now veterans, how they think back to when they were 16 or 17 becoming pros, and now how they have to be with the young guys that are coming in. You kind of have to caress them a little bit more. You have to put your hand around their shoulder. Whereas when we were kids or when we were going through that same system, it was nothing like that, right?
It's finger pointing. It's getting right in somebody's grill and discussing like the way things should be from a coaching perspective to a player. And these days, you run that risk if you are pushing the wrong button, you'll instantly turn that player off, and it turns a situation that was either neutral or still somewhat indecisive. It goes from neutral to negative pretty quickly, and that doesn't help anybody in the process.
Oh, very true, very true. It's hard to understand how times have sometimes changed. For us, I think that's one of the things we have under the iceberg, right? Is continuously adapting to certain situations and certain environments, certain circumstances, whatever it may be. And to be a great pro in the world of soccer and whatever you do or whatever sport there is, you have to continuously adapt to. I mean, you look at, whatever business it might be, or, the tech companies or whatever it may be, all these different, other jobs, you have to continuously adapt. And it's the exact same thing within professional sports. It's continuously adapting.
So let's take it to Atlanta United right now. You're coming off of the game in Fort Lauderdale where, honestly, I thought it was their best performance of the last month, and you don't get anything to show for it. And it's a young team, and you've had some of the adversity with injuries and the lineup constantly changing. Gonzalo Pineda feels like the kind of manager who is very adaptable to those things. And he feels like the guy who gets the kind of the vibe of the team really well. How hard is it in this situation where I think it's easy to see that you're playing well, but the results don't show that you're playing well?
It's a tough one, right? I think the one positive, right? We always take away the positives of the last game, that chances were created, right?
Yeah.
Even though they were not finished, chances were at least created. Now it's how you can start to put those chances away, and all it takes is one, right? And you kind of try and use that momentum, especially when there are continuous injuries that are happening. You now have George Campbell, who's I think taken a knock as well. So, you have some key guys, I think, man, I just think, that's another key thing that we were talking about yesterday was you have 3 guys. And even though, sometimes they might not be the most talkative. I mean, you have Brad who can talk to a ghost on any given day. But you have Brad and Joseph and, Ozzy that are not on the field, and just their presence on the field creates such an amount of respect for all these other guys to look at those guys and say, okay, I gotta work to that guy's level, right? With their experience and everything they bring to the table. So now the question is, who's going to be that next guy to step up, right? Who's going to be that next guy to step up and say, okay, I'm going to take the reign and I'm going to take this over, and everybody follow me, right? And that was a little bit of the conversation. I have an idea of someone who I think it should be, and I'm hoping Michael can give him a call within the next couple of weeks. But he's probably the most experienced player on the field right now. And he's, and I'll give his initials are MR. And he's the guy that I think really needs to step up and say, hey guys, follow me. Right. I can probably play on any given team right now in the world, and, use that confidence to the best of ability, but gather the guys behind him and pull them through whatever they need to get through right now. And dealing with the adversity and the challenges that they are dealing with on the injury side.
Yeah, after the Open Cup win, Alex DeJohn came in and was part of the post-game interview. And when he mentioned that Miles was presented the captain's armband for the match, you're waiting for that speech of the rah-rah to get everybody into the match. And Alex basically said that Miles' speech was something to the extent of, okay, let's go. And then that's it. Captains and those that you look to can come at you from different ways. I mean, they can be the quiet, intense type. They can be the one that can give you a look, or they can be the individual that will give you the 5-paragraph essay to get you ready and go out there. They can come at you in different forms. And the guy that you gave the initials for, I think he's the quiet, intense leader who can be that way. It's just he's going to come at it differently than you have from the other folks.
Most definitely. I've had great captains throughout my career. I'll pick out 2 in my opinion that stood out to me the most. One was in Tijuana when we won the championship there. His name was Javier Gandolfi. He played all over Argentina, played with River Plate, Copa Libertadores, all these different major teams within Argentina, and had a very, very successful career within Mexico as well. And he was a rah-rah guy. He knew how to build everybody up. He knew how to, really help everyone feel included, whether you were playing, whether you weren't rostered, whatever it may be. I remember there were so many times when I was a player, the first couple of years I was in Tijuana where I didn't play very much. And he would always have, it almost turned into a superstition. As long as he was captain, he would have me always put on his armband. He would come to my locker every single game and he would have me put on his armband. And he said, hey, follow in these footsteps. That's what he would always tell me. Follow in these footsteps. And that really stuck out to me. Those little things right there you see, and you have such an experienced guy. And it was always me who was a 20, 21-year-old kid, even though I'd been a pro for a few years then, but just, always making you feel included, even though I wasn't starting, whereas Michael, on the other hand, he's not the rah-rah guy. He's not the guy that's going to get everybody up and boost everybody up in the locker room. But he was more so of, the quiet, silent leader by example, leader by action. And he was able to kind of give us that calmness of that respect that we all had for him. And it's kind of funny because Joseph always calls him the old guy, right? He always call him the viejo, right? This guy, the old guy. And we had that certain respect towards him when he would talk right before the games. And it wasn't a rah-rah talk he would give. It was more so, hey, this is where we've come to. This is the opportunity that's placed in front of us. It's different ends of the spectrum, but how I think, I truly hope that, Michael can give, and we talked about it while he was here. I think he'll definitely give Miles a call and just, talk to him about how, he can have that opportunity right now to step up and guide these guys behind him.
Yeah, it's an adjustment right now for Miles. I am going to put down on my list of things for future conversations with you, superstitions, though, because I was just reading about the 86 Argentina World Cup team, and they had like a series of rituals that built up over that run that they had to do before every game. And if if they didn't think they were going to win, and it became like what you talked about.
I still put my left sock on every day and left shoe on every day, man. So don't worry. My superstitions are always. If we want to talk superstitions one day, you're asking the wrong guy. We'll be here for 2 hours.
Oh, that'll be a great show. That's what we'll get into. So we'll put that one to the side. We'll save that one. Yeah. So you go into Montreal and you talk about that leadership. And I think something that Montreal has done a really good job of is building this team around some veterans. Bringing Rudy Camacho back, I think, is a big addition for them on the back line. But Victor Wanyama, and the respect that everybody has to have for him and his career, and he's still delivering at such a high level. And you've got him and Ismail Kone in that midfield. You've got a little bit of the thunder and lightning kind of idea, and that Wanyama, is a little bit older. He's going to hold his position a little bit more. Kone is going to do a lot of the running for him, and they can control the game from that base of operation, and they have a lot of talent around it. Montreal's a really underrated team in my mind. How do you see Montreal right now?
I completely agree with you. I think they are a pretty well-balanced team. They have the youth that's there, they have the speed that's there, and then they have that experience. My most valuable thing within my career, and I think we always talk about it, is that word experience. And so, I think that's where, we do talk about, on the other side of things, how Miles can use his experience to help these guys create that balance within the team and create that balance on the field. So it's, it's going to be a tough game. I think Montreal has done pretty well this season. I think they should honestly be higher up in the table with some of the matches that they've played, to where you think, okay, they got this. Even the one we played them here at home. You thought they had it in the bag, and I think they were just probably coming off, the Conca champions as well, to where they're playing every other day at the beginning of the season can be somewhat tough for a lot of teams. But they are, you said the right word, underestimated, probably not given enough credit of how talented some of the players that they do have, and guys that can change the game very quickly. So, you have to be very cautious with this weekend. I always say, we always talk about it, MLS to me has been the hardest league to find or get any results away. Yeah. So how can you get a result away, whether it's a tie or a win? That's all you're thinking about if you're Atlanta United.
So in one like this, where Montreal's going to play 3 center backs, they're going to play 2 wing backs. They get different personalities with those wing backs a lot of times. I mean, it could be a winger playing wing back. It could be a fullback playing wing back. But it'll turn into a line of 5 at times. And we know Atlanta, when they get forward, they want it to be a line of 5 up high. They want those fullbacks up high. They want Almada, Moreno to find the half spaces, and they want their 9. What is on the attacking side, if you're Atlanta United and you get that 5v5 kind of matchup, what are you looking for to open it up? How do you open up a 5-man back line?
To be honest, if that were in the case where I was playing, I would be ecstatic. I would love that, because you're playing man to man, right? Yep. As long as you win your duel and you go in that game and say, I got to win my battle. If you win your battle, it gives the next guy next to you, a chance to win his, right? And so it's, as long as you think of it in that way, and winning your duel and winning your battle, then I think it kind of, becomes contagious to all the other guys around you. And I think that's probably the most important thing each and every one of those guys can think about on Saturday, is winning their battles and winning their duels. Whereas sometimes it can be more of a tactical, chess game. And I think back to whenever we were playing in the 5 and we played against LA Galaxy, and I think they were playing a 4-4-2, if I'm not mistaken, with Ibra and Alessandrini up top, I believe it was. And, and they played a diamond in the middle, and we thought to ourselves, oh my gosh, holy smoke, we're going to kill these guys today because of how tactically stronger we are going to be within certain places of the field. And it worked. Mm-hmm. But whenever you have these games to where it is, playing one-on-one, and, you're playing man-to-man, or winning the battles and winning the duels, it can be a challenge, because you look on the first thing you do. And now what I do is always look on paper and make everything be about comparisons, right? Yeah. You compare each and every player that's going to be against each other. But if I was still playing, it would be okay. This is my opportunity to. If I win this battle, it gives the next guy the better opportunity to win his as well. So it's going to be an interesting one for sure.
And we all know that Stade Saputo is a very challenging place to play, but you mentioned the one-on-one battles, and when you have those guys for Atlanta United who are very, very talented dribblers, you're looking at an Almada, you're looking at Marcelino Moreno, you're looking at Luis Araujo, who has said this week that he's looking to be one of those guys to move Atlanta forward. I think that it's a couple of good focal points for fans to look at is these one-on-one matchups with the talent that Atlanta United has going to Montreal.
Most definitely. Yeah. I think, you even have I think Andrew Gutman is a great dribbler on the ball as well. You have, Brooks, who can use his speed if he plays on the right as well. So it's, guys that can, if you look on paper, right, John, if you look on paper and you say, okay, we have these guys, they have those guys, we have the better talent, right? Yeah. The talent is there, right? Now it's more so how can those guys transition that talent into, winning each and every one of those duels on the field. And it'll be interesting to see. I think it's a game of probably more experienced players on the Montreal side playing against a lot of young talent on the Atlanta side. So how do you create that balance and seeing what will overtake and come out on top?
I want to see if you're on the same page with me on this one. Araujo, I think, is just such a wild card for this team when he gets on the field. And I kind of used the comparison earlier this week when the dream team of Barcelona and Cruyff, when he brought in Stoichkov, and everybody was like, well, how does he fit? He's different. He doesn't fit. And I think Cruyff or somebody else used the term mala leche. Like he brings that element to it because we're knocking the ball around. Everything's good, but we need that difference. We need something completely different. And I feel like Araujo, when we talk about that 5, if it turns 5v5, if Araujo's coming into the half space, he's going to be a tough matchup for a center back, or he's going to pull Wanyama or Kone deeper, and then that's going to open up for Almada Moreno. He feels like the game changer for me in this team.
When he first arrived here in Atlanta, I thought, okay, how's this guy going to make an impact? How is he going to be that next guy to step up? And, especially with the price tag, you always look, okay, how is this guy going to truly make a difference? And when he got here, was more so thinking what you just said. How is he going to open space up for other guys? Right. I think even last year, it was, more so of how more space was open up for Barco, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he took over that role, but maybe because the limelight was taken off him a little bit, and maybe that could be the same thing for Thiago as well, where the limelight can maybe be put on Luis and him opening space for Thiago, and then Thiago taking the reins and really pushing forward and. I think the most important thing when you're playing against guys that have such immense amount of talent and can be game changers within seconds is how quickly can they get backs on their heels, right?
Yeah.
Whenever they turn that back 4, back 5, or whoever it may be, back 3, whatever it may be, where you just I've been in situations as those is where you have one of those guys turn and they have a little bit of space. The best example that I can use is probably one of the best players to play in the league. Was Miguel Almiron, right?
Yeah.
That guy would turn at defenses, and you saw fear in every single one of those guys' back lines' faces, right? Because they knew that guy was going to be running like a lizard that runs on water, like we always talk about, as fast as he can with the ball, and it just opens up spaces for others, right?
Yeah.
And used to love playing with the guy like that. But if I was on the other side, goodness gracious, I would be scared. I'd be super scared of seeing that guy running at the back line. So who's going to be that guy now, right? Who's going to be that guy now to turn and say, okay, I'm taking over, right? And hopefully, I think Luis or Thiago probably most likely has to be one of those two.
Who was the first guy that put the fear in you as that lizard running on water, and how did you deal with it?
Within my career, within
your career.
Man, I would probably have to say I'd probably say maybe Tecatito, or maybe Chucky Lozano. Tecatito, when he was at Monterrey, I believe I marked him one of his debut games, and that was a handful. He was this next kid. I think his number was like 297. And I had Chucky Lozano, at the very beginning of his career, and I don't even know what his number was. It was probably like 128. And just going against those guys, it was also, those guys turned on you, and you were on your heels for sure.
When you talk about being on your heels, like the flashback I have, the memory I have is the throw from Tim Howard to Landon Donovan at the end of that game in 2010, where the throw and Donovan's first touch, you can see the defender like freak out. You see that stumble from him, and that just keys Landon to go even harder at it.
Most definitely. That is by far where their first touch into space, or their first touch in that turn, is so good that you as a defender, there's I think in moments like that, the best coaches I've had just said, in those moments, you kind of just have to give a little golf to you, even if you're a defender, right? There's nothing you can do in those moments. That guy's gone, right?
If you turn and you kind of like cast that lure a little bit like you're fishing, and it's far enough out that the defender might think, I can get there, but I can't.
Yep.
And you see that hesitation.
Most definitely.
Luis has definitely got that. Greg, if you'd have put it down to one thing, a key to the game here for Atlanta and Montreal, what are you looking at?
I would say just coping with that stadium. I think it's a hard place to play.
Yeah. Again, right on top of you.
Yeah, it's a hard place to play. We're lucky that we're playing this game at the end of April. That's got to be one of the coldest places, I think, in the whole entire world.
It's going to be cold this weekend. I'm not liking it, Greg. I'm not liking it at all. I had to break the winter stuff out.
What's the temperature going to be?
30s is the low. I think the high might be around 50, but luckily it's a 4:00 kick, so it shouldn't be too bad.
I look at those places. I went to Buffalo last year for my workers' comp, and getting all my injuries sorted out after my career, and I think I went like May 21st. And I was taking shorts, and I was taking whatever it may be. And I landed, and it was snowing. And I just thought to myself, man, how do you guys do this?
I thought I'd put the winter stuff away. I had to break out the big coat, and man, I'm not happy about this.
So, man, I didn't know it was still that cold. It's crazy. But yeah, I think it's probably just coping with the stadium. And managing and adapting to that environment can sometimes be a little bit tough. Results. You need results in this league. You need results, whether it's a point or whether it's 3 away. And how do you think about that? You come off of a tough loss, but where you play really well, and how can you turn that around and maybe not playing the prettiest, but getting a result. I always say Seattle is the best at doing that.
Yeah.
Right. They are the best team within the league to get results when it matters. And so how do these other teams, especially Atlanta, and who came from there, right? So it's how does he kind of use that experience that he had there, and telling these guys, hey, it's all about results, right?
Last one, you think Seattle's in a good spot in the second leg of the CONCACAF final?
This would be first time in history, right?
Yeah, first time in the Champions League era. Yeah.
I think they got it. I truly think they got it. Man, they missed some key chances in that game. Talavera had some amazing saves. But man, that's such a hard place to play. I remember playing in Pumas. They're lucky they didn't play on a Sunday at 12 p.m. That's when we used to play there on let's say like on June 15th.
Oh man.
So where I just remember I had some coaches that would say, okay, kill yourself in warm up, because the altitude, I just remember your mouth being so dry and just can't catch your breath. And you're just like, you're like, okay, this helped me, right? This helped me. We'll have 10, 15 minutes to, kind of get ready in the locker room right after this. Really helped me. And the first sprint you made in the game, it was the exact same thing. Didn't help you whatsoever. Well, those were the hardest games. But I honestly think they might have it, which would be awesome. That would be awesome. I can only imagine. Only thing I think would be awesome, because I can only imagine the press of the Mexican League. Every single soccer channel, the 15 soccer channels that they have, what the headlines would be. So I would look forward to see what that would be.
Complete and utter meltdown. Hopefully we'll be talking about that next week. Man, thanks for the time. I'm definitely putting down the superstition special on the list. Yes. We're going to get into that at some point.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Awesome. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Make sure you're following GM Garza on Instagram. Make sure you're following BG Mentoring on Twitter, Beyond Goals Mentoring on Instagram, beyondgoalsmentoring.org. Doing great work out there and providing great insight to us on Fridays. Michael Parkhurst will be with us next week. We'll see if maybe he has talked to MR about being a captain and all the things that go along with it. Before we jump into the whip around, John, why don't you tell us about our good friends over at Eliminize?
I can certainly do that. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Eliminize service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. There's only one place you need to go, and it is our friends at Eliminize. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, creating a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Eliminize service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their facilities that much faster. The turnkey process that makes it easy to work with those realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. A very, very green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever, different than our favorite masking agents that we have under the sink, because those masking agents, that's all they do. They just mask the odor. They don't attack the problem. The proven scientific formula from Eliminize attacks your issues all the way down to the molecule. Pricing very, very easy, by the cubic foot or by parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, do us a favor. Go to their website, eliminize.com, but after the .com, go /Atlanta, so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from. So your full assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, eliminize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Proud sponsors of everything SDH.
All right, let's get ready for the whip around. We don't have a whip around music or video yet. I think the name is going to stick, though.
Yeah, I think so.
But when this happens, we do have to play this. Hi, Jared.
I was letting it play out. I love letting it play out.
I know. I know. Are you gonna request this and just have it play when you walk into a room now?
I think so. He's got to have it. It's got to have entrance music.
It's not a bad idea.
Have a boom box that you're gonna carry with playing it.
Do people still have boom boxes?
They should. If they don't,
I could go to the thrift store and check.
I would like a boom box, actually. Now that I think about it. Yeah, we're gonna. I think the weekend whip around is gonna stick. I think that's gonna be the name of the segment. I think it's time to bump it up a level in production. So stay tuned on that. But let's jump into this. Do we have the fantasy update, by the way? I don't know if we do. We do. Okay, excellent. Perfect timing, Ryan. We'll get to that at the end. Let's get into the weekend whip around, and it starts tomorrow at 1:30. Houston Dynamo hosting Austin. The home sides won all 3 times they've played. Dynamo won their only meeting in Houston last year, 3-0 last September. Houston's unbeaten in their last 9 home Texas derbies, going back to the start of the 2017 season. Now, 5 of those are draws, but they have not lost against a team from Texas since 2017. Austin's won 3 in a row, first time ever in club history. They've scored 20 goals this season. That equals their total through the end of August last year. Now, the season started in April. We'd be in week 3, but still, good grief. Sebastian Drusi is a big part of that. He's got 6 goals. He's got 3 assists. 9 goal contributions for Drusi this season, 2 more than any other MLS player in 2022. He had a goal and an assist in their win over Vancouver. What are the numbers on this one, John?
For entertainment purposes only, courtesy of our friends in the composite at Odds Portal, what you have is Houston at a plus 127. Your draws plus 258, and Austin is a plus 195.
Interesting. Jarrett, what you thinking?
I'm thinking Austin because I'm firmly on this train.
You're on the Austin train.
Oh, I've been on the Austin train for a bit. I'm firmly on it, though. Not saying they're going to win the cup. I just like them. They're good. They're fun. I like fun.
I'm kind of on the Houston train at home. I don't know where to go yet. John, what are you doing?
You said that Houston has not lost, but 5 of them have been draws.
Of games against Texas teams since 2017, yes. But they have won. The only time they played Austin in Houston, they won that.
Okay, I think Austin's a better team than the last time that they played them in Houston. I'll go with the 5 number turning into 6. I'll go with that plus 258 in the draw.
No shock there, John, picking the draw. I know we're all blown away by that.
Is anyone surprised by that?
No. Nobody's surprised by that one.
Nope.
I'm going with Houston to win. I know Austin got the win in DC that got Hernan Losada fired. I still need to see a little more from them on the road. And I think Houston's a better team than DC. And I don't think it will be easy for Austin in this one. I hope Houston's getting a little bit of excitement. I really hope that Houston's starting to get behind this team, because I think they've got a good manager in Nagamura. I think they've made some good additions. They've got new ownership. It feels like a new dawn for the franchise. This would be a big game for them. I think they get it. I think Houston gets the win. I'm going with that. Next game on the board, Toronto hosting Cincinnati, 3:00 on Saturday. 6 all-time matches between these two. Toronto's won 4 of them. However, Cincinnati's 2 wins came last year. Toronto won the match in September in Toronto, though. Toronto's won both of the games in Toronto against Cincinnati. Jesus Jimenez, signing that we were kind of like, I wonder where this is going to play out. I wonder how it's going to look for Toronto. He scored twice in the loss to NYC, the 5-4 loss. He's got 6 goals on the year. No Toronto player scored more than 4 last year. Luciano Acosta scored his 2nd goal of the season for Cincinnati in their loss to LAFC. Acosta is one of 3 Cincinnati players with a goal of the season. 3 guys have scored for them. That's it. The fewest players with a goal of any MLS team this season, Acosta is on that list. What are the numbers here with Cincinnati headed to Toronto?
Cincinnati's a plus 270. Your draw's a plus 303. Toronto is a minus 116.
Toronto wins at home.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sorry, Cincinnati.
That could be a fun game.
It could be. I don't know if it necessarily is a fun game, but it could be. I think Toronto wins it. 3:30 Saturday, RSL hosting the LA Galaxy. Both teams won at home against each other last season. RSL won last time it was in Utah, 2-1 in September. That was RSL's 5th in its last 22 games against the Galaxy dating back to 2014. So 5 wins, 6 draws, and 11 losses against the LA Galaxy going back to 2014. RSL has not won in 5, 3 draws, 2 losses. Scoreless draw with Portland on the weekend. The 5-game winless run is RSL's longest since 13 without a win, September 2016 to April 2017. The Galaxy have won 3 of their last 4. They got a draw in the other one. Clean sheets in each of the last 2. They haven't kept 3 clean sheets in MLS play in almost 6 years. RSL kept a clean sheet. Now, this is the craziest stat in MLS history. This is the nuttiest thing I've ever seen in this league. And there's a bunch of crazy things. So, how bad did RSL lose in Yankee Stadium, Jared?
Ooh, what was that? 7? 6?
6. A couple weeks ago. 6.
Yeah.
So they lose 6-0 at Yankee Stadium. They come back with a clean sheet against Portland. Of the 60 times in MLS history, going back to 96, that a team has conceded 6 goals or more. So 60 times the team's given up 6 or more goals in a game. They've come back to keep a clean sheet in the next match 15 times. 1 out of 4.
Yeah.
You give up 6 or more and you come back with a clean sheet 1 out of 4 times. That's bonkers. This league's insane.
Uh-huh.
The Galaxy kept their second straight clean sheet. They've only allowed 6 goals this season. Only 3 teams have allowed fewer. Only one of the 6 the Galaxy have given up has been from open play. That's the best mark in the league this year. What are the numbers for RSL and LA Galaxy?
RSL is a plus 158. Your draw is a plus 235. LAG is a plus 169.
Whew. That's a weird set of numbers. Where are you going with this, John?
Let's see.
I'm going with a draw.
I've got to go with LA here. I mean, with LA having only given up 6 goals in their first 8 matches, and RSL having only scored 9 and 9. I mean, I think the Galaxy can get more than 1 on the board, so I'll go with the Galaxy at Rio Tinto.
Jarrett?
Give me RSL in a weird
First win
game.
in 6, 5?
Yeah. Give me RSL at home in a really weird game. Like Justin Miram scoring in like the 93rd minute, kind of weird.
That's weird. I'm going with a draw in this one. I think it's going to be pretty defensive. Mastroeni just always strikes me as the coach that when you're not doing well, you kind of turn back to who you are a little bit. He's become more adventurous, but he is a defense-first guy. And I think when it's not going well, you want to get that right. You give up 6. It didn't go well. You got a clean sheet against Portland. I think he's going to be very defensive even at home against the firepower the Galaxy have, and I could see a scoreless draw in this one. Columbus hosting DC United, 7:30 on Saturday. Both teams recorded wins against the other on the road last year. So DC went to Columbus and won 4-2 last August. DC's only set of consecutive wins in Columbus came in 1999, and one of those was a shootout. So it doesn't even really count. Columbus has lost their last 2 at home. They lost their last 2 at home by shutout. They have never lost 3 in a row at home by shutout. They're one of the originals, 1996. They've never done it. DC had lost 4 in a row. Hernan Losada gets fired. They come back with a 3-2 win over New England because, of course, welcome to MLS.
Mm-hmm.
DC is John's least favorite team because only 2 of their last 25 matches have ended in a draw.
Yeah.
They've won 11. They've lost 12. 2 draws. John hates DC United.
Only a DC deals in absolutes.
Yes.
Yes. The Crews scoreless draw against Sporting Kansas City. 4th straight game that they have not scored. It's the 2nd time in their history that that's happened, going back to 2008. They've never gone 5 without a goal, so they're due for somebody to find the back of the net. Taxi Fontes scored twice and got an assist in his first career MLS match on Saturday.
Scored a banger, too.
Yeah, he did. Only the 2nd player in the last decade to record multiple goals and an assist in his first MLS start. Who did it last? Quickly, John.
2 goals and an assist.
Yes. 2
Goal
goals and an assist in their debut in the league.
Ibra.
Nope.
No,
John, your guess.
Bench. Jeff Agus.
No. You went back to like 1996 on that. We were talking the last decade. But anyway, Alejandro Pozuelo.
Yes.
Jesus, dude, Jeff Agus.
Yeah, John's hitting the sauce this morning early. What are the numbers for Columbus and DC?
Columbus is a minus 164. Your draw is a plus 291. DC is north of plus 450. I still can't trust the number. I got to go Columbus.
That's a scary number for DC against a team that hasn't scored in 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
That's woo.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't know what to make.
I ain't touching it, but I would have to say Crew.
Jarrett?
Crew have outperformed a lot of their metrics if you want to go down that route.
They have. They have.
I think they get it done. Just DC is going to get their new manager bump out of everything, and it seems like a good fit. I wonder if this is the one they stick with long term.
I honestly am starting to think maybe they should. It's not the headline grabbing move, but I think it's the right move for the locker room. So I'm intrigued.
It worked It worked when Ben Olsen left. I mean, it worked temporarily, and now I mean you have your last performance, and yeah, you're going to get new manager bump. But if the vibes are right, I'm wondering if that's what they end up sticking with. But give me the Crew begrudgingly, because at this point I'm just waiting for August 13th when Jossie Zardes drops a hat trick on Caleb Porter and then just goes and stands in the box and stares at him.
Yeah, those
just go stand in the technical area next to him and stare at him for 20 minutes.
Those comments were interesting. Because of that, to a degree, those comments, I think Jossie Zardes was a very well-respected member of that locker room. Those comments are rather shocking from Caleb Porter because of the vibes of Chad Ashton in DC. I'm taking the underdog.
I figured.
DC United in Columbus, because that number's insane.
And Jason Nix, the comments were Caleb Porter pretty much rolled a bus over Jossie Zardes when Zardes was traded.
He basically alluded to Jossie being washed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you can feel that way. That's not something you say, like especially the way he did. You don't do that.
It was rather surprising, and I wonder how the response was in the locker room. New England hosting Miami, 7:30. First time they played, New England won 5-0. Now we know Miami has won the last 2 meetings, including the game with Leonardo Campana's hat trick on April 9th. New England is one of 3 teams Miami has faced more than once and has won more than 50% of their games against. Cincinnati and Toronto are the others. Surprised New England's on that list, but they are. New England's lost 5 times this year. That's how many they lost all of last season. They've dropped as many points in 8 matches this season as they did in their first 22 matches last year. Miami's won 3 straight MLS matches for the second time in club history. They've won 4 straight in all competitions, including the Open Cup. All 3 wins in both league winning streaks came by 1-goal margins. 19 of Miami's 22 all-time wins have been a 1-goal margin. That's kind of a wild one. Campana, goal and an assist in the win over Atlanta on the weekend. He's been involved in 7 of Miami's 9 goals this season, 5 goals, 2 assists, and he's been involved in all of the last 6. Is he involved in more goals at Gillette in Foxborough, John?
Yes. New England is a minus 196. Your draw is a plus 351, and Inter Miami is a plus 478. I'm going with Inter Miami.
You're going with Inter Miami. Are you getting the new stadium bump? Is that what you're giving them?
New stadium bump and team chaos currently with New England when your stars are yelling at assistant coaches.
That wasn't a good look from Carlos Hill. I'm just saying. Mm-hmm. He wasn't yelling about the snow this time. Jarrett, what you got?
I don't know how to feel about this game. As good as Miami has been able to get those 3 wins in a row, I'm still kind of petty about last week in the fact that Miami didn't create as much as I expected them to, but I also don't trust New England. Give me a draw, just because I don't feel like dealing with either one of these teams right now. I don't trust New England, and Miami, if they keep getting stuff out of Campana, sure. I mean, great. Then they're going to be okay. They're going to be better than okay. They've got something going on. But give me the draw here.
I'm taking New England. I think they get a little bit of a bounce back here. I didn't think they played all that bad against DC, even though they lost it, and even though Carlos Hill wanted to strangle people, it looked like. I thought they could have gotten at least a draw out of that, maybe more. I think they'll be okay at home against Miami. They'll take care of it. Orlando and Charlotte, 7:30 Saturday night. Orlando lost 3-0 at home to the Red Bulls on Sunday. 3rd defeat in their last 4 at home. That's strange. They had only lost 3 of their previous 28 at home, going back to the start of the 2020 season. Charlotte got their first away point, scoreless draw in Colorado. Charlotte's 2 defeats in their last 6, 3 wins, 1 draw. The loss to the Red Bulls for Orlando on Sunday, 3rd time they failed to score in 33 home matches going back to August of 2020. Last went consecutive home games without scoring in their last 2 games in 2017, and that was a train wreck at the end of that season. Is it a train wreck for Orlando as they host Charlotte this time around? What are the numbers?
Numbers for Orlando are a -137. Your draws a +265. And Charlotte, as we are even discussing this match, is creeping closer and closer to +400. They're a +388.
What are you picking, Jarrett? Well, Jarrett's excited. He's hot and bothered by that Charlotte number.
That's Charlotte number. That's Charlotte number. That is chum in the water, y'all. Or man, I don't know how much you saw last week. Orlando didn't just lose to Red Bull. That was a paddling.
It was a paddling.
It was a paddling. Give me the draw here. I don't trust Charlotte. Charlotte, it feels like they should have. They could have easily won or lost that game last week. They missed a tap in at the end where it was just a bad read. But you also had Colorado hit the bar in the first half and really lean on them in the first half, and they survive. It's also two really good goalkeepers in this game. Give me the draw.
John?
Yeah, I'll go draw too. I like the idea with the two great keepers as well.
I'm going Orlando. I don't think they lose another one at home. And I think Oscar Pareja's probably gotten into that team a little bit this week in training, and I just think they're a little bit better. So Orlando at home, I think they get it done. Next on the board, 8 o'clock Saturday, Chicago Fire hosting the New York Red Bulls. Wow. Okay. Again on the road, you're going for the Red Bulls. All right.
The Red Bulls haven't lost on the road this
I know.
year. They haven't even drawn on the road this year. And Chicago can't score.
Chicago's been very good defensively outside of a 16-minute span when they lost to Minnesota and they gave up 3 goals in 16 minutes. Before that, they'd only given up 2 goals.
Down a man for a chunk of that too.
It's possible.
I think they were down a man for a chunk of that, so take it for what it's worth.
The Red Bulls became the first team since the Galaxy in '98 to win their first 4 on the road. They could tie that longest streak of 5 that the Galaxy had in both '96 and '98. That could get interesting. Now, Chicago has gone 4 straight without a goal. They're in the Columbus boat. It's the second time in their last 10 regular season games they've done that. That's getting to be a bit of an issue. Here's the Red Bulls stat of the day. The Red Bulls had 35.6% of the possession in their win over Orlando on Sunday. That's the highest possession percentage they've had in a win this season. The Red Bulls have won all 4 matches where they've had less than 40% of possession. They failed to win any of the games where they had more than 40% of the possession. That's what we're dealing with the New York Red Bulls. Yay! What are the numbers with the Chicago Fire and New York Red Bulls?
The Juicebox purveyors have no clue. They have no idea. They are at +167, +168 for both. Your draws are +223. They don't know.
I'm going draw.
Yep.
Jarrett.
I already told you.
Okay, you're on the Red Bulls train.
Red Bulls. He hasn't changed his mind in the last 20 minutes.
Good for you. Just checking. What do you have,
I stand on this rocky surface proudly.
I hope you fall off that rock. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. Appreciate
No problem. Sporting Kansas City hosting Dallas, 8:30 Saturday. Visiting team has won 7 of the last 10 in this series. That's a weird number. Dallas is unbeaten in 5 straight to Kansas City with 4 wins out of that 5. There's only 2 teams that have had a longer unbeaten road run against Sporting Kansas City in history. Sporting Kansas City hasn't won in 4. It was a scoreless draw with Columbus on Saturday. 7 points through 9 games. 3rd worst start in club history. Worst since 2011. Dallas had the 2 late goals to beat Houston on Saturday. Dallas is unbeaten in 6, 4 wins in that stretch. Longest unbeaten streak since 2018, where they went 7 straight. Dallas has won 4 of those 6 after winning 2 of its previous 18. Now, here's the issue for Kansas City, and Jarrett, you talked about this coming into the year with Johnny Russell and Daniel Shalhoub. 31 goals between them last year. 7 of Kansas City's last 8 goals against Dallas have been scored by either Russell or Shalhoub. 4 for Russell, 3 for Shalhoub. The 1 goal that wasn't scored by them against Dallas was Alan Pulido. We know he's out. Shalhoub got an assist on that. Johnny Russell and Daniel Shalhoub aren't scoring a whole lot of goals this year, and Kansas City isn't doing much this year, period.
Nope.
What are the numbers?
Sporting's a plus 137. Your draw's a plus 229. FC Dallas is a plus 200. I'm going Dallas.
Give me Dallas. Jared?
Yeah, give me Dallas. Yeah, Dallas. I want to love you, Kansas City. Let me love you. Stop doing these things to make me not love you.
No, just make sure that Peter Vermes has the non-slip shoes on.
Yes.
You ain't kidding. It's
that was
But
unfortunate.
to your point, yeah, the guys who need to score goals aren't scoring goals. You wonder what it would be like if Alan Polito was actually there and if they had a functioning 6.
That's the one I wonder about.
But if frogs had wings, they wouldn't bump their ass when they jump. So we can do
I
this butts all day.
That's what I hear. Colorado hosting Portland, 9:00 Saturday. Timbers ended a 5-match winless run against the Rapids with that win in the postseason last year. That was Portland's 3rd win in Colorado. They've lost 7. They've drawn 4. Second clean sheet ever in Colorado. The Rapids, their draw was Charlotte on Saturday. They are unbeaten at home in regular season play for 20 games, 11 wins, 9 draws. They do like a draw. They are John's favorite team.
Yes.
The 20 games unbeaten at home is the 7th longest run in MLS history. The Timbers have had consecutive goalless draws for the 3rd time in their history. Jossie Zardes made his debut for the Rapids. He came on. He's got 54 regular season goals since 2018, 3rd most in MLS, more than any other American in that time frame. The Timbers, they have won 7 of their last 12 away, including the postseason. They've only lost 1 of their last 6 on the road. Keep that in mind as they go to Commerce City. What are the numbers?
Colorado's a minus 122. Your draw is a plus 263. Portland is now shifting to a plus 330.
John?
Give me the draw. No, I'll go Colorado here. I think Jossie Zardes starts his I'm chasing, getting ready for Caleb Porter tour on later on this year. So I'll go with Jossie getting a goal and Colorado gets the win.
Jared?
I feel like John's setting Jossie Zardes up for a training montage a la Rocky movie.
Yes.
Give me Colorado. I think Portland is closing in quickly on the point of we're going to have to tear this down.
It's getting there, but every time I think they're getting there, they don't get there. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm going draw. I don't think it's pretty, but I'm going draw. New York City and San Jose, 1:00 on Sunday. That is criminal for the Earthquakes to have to go across the country and play at Yankee Stadium for a 1:00 kick. NYC has won 4 of its 5 meetings with San Jose, 1 draw. They've won the last 3 in a row. All 4 wins, including all 3 games at Yankee Stadium, have been won by 1-goal margin. New York City, 5-4 over Toronto on Sunday in drunken ridiculousness. 20th match in MLS history to feature 9 combined goals. First time NYC had been involved in one of those. Now, the Quakes hadn't won until drunken madness in MLS. Welcome to San Jose. They were down 3-1. They came back to beat Seattle 4-3. 3rd straight season that San Jose's won a game that it trailed by 2 goals. That's weird. NYC followed up 6 against RSL with 5 against Toronto. 6th time in MLS history that a team scored 11 goals in 2 games. LAFC was the last to do it, July of 2019. Nathan for San Jose was suspended retroactively by the Disco for his horrible tackle on Raul Ruiz-Diaz. It should have been a straight red on the field. Here's another trivia question for you. Christian Espinoza, hat trick for San Jose. 6th Argentine to have a hat trick in an MLS match. Of course, you've had most hat tricks by U.S. players, 49 of them. Who is the 2nd country to have the most hat tricks in MLS history? Argentina's 3rd. Who's 2nd? Jarrett, your guess.
Venezuela.
No. It's players with hat tricks, not individual.
Yeah, but there's been more than one Venezuelan player in this league.
I know, but I wanted to make sure because Joseph's got a bunch of hat tricks. You are wrong. John, what do you got?
The United States.
That was number one. I said that.
That's number one.
Are you seriously like with us today? You're not picking draws, and you picked Jeff Agus in a goal scoring thing. Wrong. It's Colombia.
I was going to say Ecuador,
but you didn't. You said the U.S.
I did. You said they were first.
Pick something. Pick a game. Pick it. What are you picking?
Draw. No. NYC's at a -256. Draws a +421. San Jose's a +577. I'm captaining Tati Castellanos in fantasy. NYC.
Jarrett, how are you going to take that?
I'm going to pick NYC as well. Here's the thing about San Jose. We went over this last week in the 4-2-3-1. Never play San Jose after they fired their manager. Atlanta did that after Michael Sarri was gone, and it took the darkest of dark magic to get out of there with a win in Joseph Martinez putting together one of the best seasons we've ever seen. Seattle did not have that sort of dark magic or luxury. You don't play San Jose right after they fire a manager. Weird stuff happens. You wait and play the game after that. It's the same philosophy of coaching. Don't follow the guy. Follow the guy who follows the guy.
Yes, 'tis true.
Okay.
New York is outside of the blast radius of San Jose dark magic.
Fair
New York
enough.
City.
I think San Jose is half asleep in this game. Nashville hosting Philly, opening of Geodis Park. All 3 times they've played happened last season. The home team won the regular season matches, and then Philadelphia knocked Nashville out in the playoffs in Chester. That was a draw going into it. It's always been tight. 1-0 wins.
It's a draw in one of the worst penalty shootout performances I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and Philly wasn't really good in the shootout either.
No,
they only scored
Nashville
2.
Just happened to
Nashville
be atrocious.
0 for 4. Nashville at home. We talked about Colorado's 20 games unbeaten at home. Nashville's 19 in a row unbeaten at Nissan Stadium. First time at Geodis Park. 10 wins, 9 draws. They're right on that number that John likes. 5th team in MLS history last year to go unbeaten at home through a whole season. Last year they pulled that off. 5th team in the MLS history to do it. They last lost at home to Dallas in November of 2020. The Union, 1 point in their last 2, but 17 points through 8 is the best start to a season in team history. Hani Mukhtar, at least 1 goal contribution in his last 10 games at home. The last time to keep him without a goal or an assist in Nashville was Philadelphia on July 3rd. All the scoring in games involving the Union this year has been done early. Philly has not conceded a goal or scored a goal after the 60-minute mark in 2022. That's a weird number as well. What are the numbers on this game from the Juicebox purveyors?
Nashville's a +124. Your draw's a +211. Philadelphia's a +246.
Jarrett, what you picking?
Philadelphia is going to go in there and ruin Nashville's day because Philadelphia hates fun. Sorry, Rich. The team hates fun.
They do. No, they hate fun. They'll gladly say they hate fun.
Draw.
Yeah, I'm going draw as well.
I like Burns' point. Philly wins. Nashville trying to put on a show. Yeah, Nashville's going to try to entertain the fans, and you don't try and entertain the fans. That plays right into what Philadelphia wants you to do.
No, I don't think Nashville tries to entertain the fans. I don't think Gary Smith loses the plot here. I think they play smart against what Philadelphia is going to do, and I think it is not necessarily a thrilling game on national TV in the opening of Geodis Park. And yeah, you shouldn't have booked it with Philadelphia in town. That's all I got. I don't think it's
just start switching the ball back and forth the entire game. Just long diagonals back and forth, back and forth.
Just bomb it long. Let's see Joseph Pong go fight people up top, and if something falls for a
I'm trying to actively kill Philadelphia's midfield by making them run back and forth.
They'll just stand there and watch. It's going to be a lot of it's not going to be good. You're going to need somebody to come in with like a mid-second half musical performance in the booth to liven it up. It's Nashville. They can find somebody. That's what it's going to take because it's not going to be pretty, in my opinion. LAFC and Minnesota, 10 o'clock on Sunday night, last game of the weekend. Minnesota's a weird team this year. They're actually defending. It's freaking me out. LAFC won their first game ever against Minnesota, May of 2018. The Loons are unbeaten in 5 against LAFC. I had no idea. 3 of them have been draws, but 2 wins. The last 3 have been draws. Only the Timbers have gone more consecutive meetings against LAFC without losing. LAFC 19 points through 8. That equals the best start in club history from 2019. No team has had more than 19 points through 8 games since Kansas City had 21 through 8 games in 2012. Minnesota, 5 goals in their first 6. They've scored 3 times in back-to-back games now. Kellen Acosta, Danny Musovski, the 11th and 12th LAFC players to score a goal already this season. Talk about Cincinnati. They got 3 guys who've scored. LAFC's got 12. LAFC has 1 more goal scorer than Minnesota has goals this season. Minnesota's got 11 goals. LAFC's got 12 goal scorers. But Emmanuel Reynoso finally went off again. It had been a minute. He had a goal and an assist against Chicago. 2 assists against Colorado the week before. The performance against the Fire on Saturday was Reynoso's 9th match with multiple goal contributions. Only 2 players have had more of those in Minnesota history, Darwin Quintero and Kevin Molino. What are the numbers, John?
LA is a minus 204. Your draw is a plus 342. Minnesota United a plus 517.
It's been 5 games since LAFC beat Minnesota. Do they do it here, John?
Yes.
Do they do it here, Jarrett?
No.
Does Minnesota win?
No.
Draw.
Yes. There you go.
I think they do it. I'm still baffled by this thing that Minnesota is doing called defense, because I thought they were allergic to it. I thought it was something about the Lake Minnetonka or something. I don't know, but I guess maybe it might be. It's one of them. I don't know, but I'm still picking LA. I'm not buying it yet. I think in the things that I don't quite believe yet, I don't believe Columbus is as good as I think maybe we're trying to be persuaded, because I think there's something wrong in the background, because Caleb Porter's driving buses over former players now.
Yeah.
I don't know if Austin is quite as good as their record, because I still need to see more on the road, because they've been pretty woeful on the road up until they got Hernan Losada fired. And I don't know if I believe in Minnesota yet. Those are the things I don't believe yet. We'll see.
Matt Doyle described it perfectly, I thought, when he described Reynoso and Minnesota's relationship as the most heliocentric relationship in the league right now.
Yeah, I can see that.
All right. How he goes is how they go.
Yes. Let's get into the fantasy picks quickly. The whip around has went way over into CONCACAF stoppage time. Your locks on fantasy, thank you to Ryan Walker. ATL Ryan walked on Twitter. 10 games on the board for week 9. His locks defensively, Rodrigo Schlegel for Orlando against Charlotte. 5.9 million on your board, 8% owned. Orlando's got 5 clean sheets. Charlotte, 2 goals on the road this season. Good price. Can buy into that. Lock on the other side, Jarrett, you alluded to it. I think, John, you alluded to it as well. Tati Castellanos, 9.6 million. Why is Tati Castellanos not worth like 20 million in MLS fantasy?
For real?
9.6, 25% owned. He's got 5 goals and 41 points in the last 2 weeks. San Jose is going to be half asleep, because it'll be 10 a.m. local time when they start this game. San Jose's given up 20 goals this year. That's the worst in the league. Yeah, just go ahead and start Tati and figure out if you want to captain him, but start him for sure. No, that's the lock of the lock. Consider defensively John Tolkien and his flock of seagulls here. 8.1 million against Chicago, 2% owned. Ryan's betting against Chicago this week, thinking they can't get anything going. Tolkien defensively, maybe they get a clean sheet. They're great on the road. They've only given up 6 goals this year. I can buy into that one for sure. Consider Hani Mukhtar, 11.3 million, owned by 19%. Mukhtar's been great for a while now. But it's Philadelphia coming to town. I'm on the not consider side of Mukhtar a little bit, because I think the game's going to be horrendous. And I think Philly's going to make sure that Mukhtar doesn't contribute. But Mukhtar has contributed against almost everybody, except last time he didn't. It was against Philly. At home last time he didn't. Alex Bono is the value pickup defensively against Cincinnati, 2%. He says you got to hold your nose a little bit on that one because Toronto did just give up 5 goals to NYC. Cincinnati is not NYC. That is absolutely correct. He's cheap. Yeah, if you don't believe in Cincinnati, you could buy into that possibly. That is a value pickup. The value pick on the offense, Justin Rennicks of New England against Miami, 1% owned, $5.3 million. Rennicks is a cheap bench play. Absolutely. You could, if you got money, you could upgrade it to Buxa for sure. But this is a good matchup for New England, and angry Carlos Heel has been producing pretty consistently. So can he produce for Justin Rennicks? He has already. Rennicks scored against Miami last time out. I don't hate that play at all. Especially if you want to squeeze in money to spread it around elsewhere. If you get Tati Castellanos at 9.6, you put Rennicks in there. You can get another forward for a lot. You can get a bunch of midfielders for a lot. Yeah, I don't hate that at all. Any locks for you this week that we haven't talked about, John?
I have Vela going up against Minnesota, considering the discussion that we've had.
But Minnesota, but they've been good defensively this season, so I don't know if he's a lock, but LAFC's LAFC, so that's more consider for me just because of Minnesota, but...
And then I've also got Pozuelo Osorio going up against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I like Pozuelo in that one a lot. Pozuelo in that one a whole lot.
And then defensively, because of the previous discussion, I've got Alexander Callens and Robin Janssen in my back line.
Yeah, don't hate those at all. Jared, anybody you're looking at specifically this week?
Sebastian Driussi just keeps on keeping on.
Driussi too.
Yeah, Driussi. Brandon Vasquez is a shout just because people have mentioned it. I think Will mentioned it. Toronto's backline is just it can turn to Swiss cheese at times, and Brandon Vasquez has been really good at taking opportunities in front of him.
Check Vasquez's health. He hasn't been 100% lately. He hasn't played.
Brenner started last time. Yeah.
Depending on how much
they've also got a quick turn because it's a back-to-back with Toronto. They play him again midweek.
Yeah. We get midweek action next week. Bless up, y'all. Depending on how you feel about DC, Miguel Berry, if you feel like Columbus is due, don't take anyone. I would not take anyone from Red Bull. It's just because Chicago can defend. Maybe the Red Bull's keeper, because Chicago does not know the difference between a hole in center field and the goal.
Carlos Cornell's not a bad pick at all.
I think either the goalkeepers in Orlando or Charlotte. I think both of them can put up numbers there. FC Dallas's goalkeeper, because I don't trust Sporting Kansas City as far as I can throw them, which is not very far.
Velasco.
Mm-hmm.
Well, goalkeeper would be Martin Pais. And
yes.
If you're trusting Dallas to attack, then Alan Velasco for sure. Paul Arriola possibilities. Lots of possibilities.
Take Alan Velasco for the fouls alone.
Yeah, well, you don't get bonus points for those.
Anyway.
All right. That's going to do it for us. I got a plane to catch. I got to get ready to go to Montreal, and I don't know what we're having for dinner tonight, but poutine will be had at some point while I am in Quebec, and I'm going to send pictures to Jarrett to make him very sad.
It's not just sad ain't the emotion, buddy.
That's the one I can say on the air.
There you go. What's the broadcast plans?
We are on the air at 3:30. Kickoff is allegedly at 4:08. It's not a national broadcast, so it should actually be 4:08. I don't think Jorge Mas has to persuade Miami City commissioners to vote for his project on the national broadcast to push it back from time where it was scheduled to later. I don't think we're going to have that in Montreal unless Joey Saputo comes in and grabs a mic. So should be 4:08, 3:30 start time on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, the Atlanta United app. And we will have a full hour of the full-time report because we are staying in Montreal Saturday night. We'll be back here Sunday morning, probably about lunchtime, actually. So full broadcast plans on 92.9 The Game tomorrow with me and Mike. Thanks for hanging out this morning. Thanks to Greg Garza for spending some time with us. Thank you, Jarrett. Thank you, John. Thank you guys for being part of it. And we will see you on Monday for Overreaction Monday. Have a good weekend. Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.
Mucha plata, y'all.